Five, four, three, two, one. Aloha kakahiaka, aloha ainawa, aloha ahi ahi. For those that do not speak Hawaiian Pidgin, good morning, good afternoon, good night to wherever you are in the world. I hope you all are doing well. Welcome to another installment of the Conflict Management Podcast. I am the awesome, awkward one, the only Malik Miles, and
Pass me the ball, man.
and my co-host. Oh, my bad. I thought he was about to say something. So
That's all right. We're
you know
keeping it
what?
in. Pass
Things
me the
happen.
ball.
But yeah, my co-host.
The one
My
who you can
co-host.
see the face of this week. The one currently in possession of the ball. The one and only Edon. And we're here to talk about a review of a fantastic card. We're going to here to talk about the Holloway Zombie Singapore UFC event that was absolutely tremendous. And I want to get right into it. I want to go right for the head of the snake. I want to talk about. I think we might have talked about this before, but I think like when you get to fight night, there's three levels of entertainment that you can give, which is you walk out, you fight, and then you post fight. I thought that this main event has delivered on a level that we have not seen in a very long time in terms of both fighters delivering on their walkout, both fighters delivering in the fight, and both fighters having big moments after the fight is over that will make this one of the most memorable main events of the entire year, if not one of the decade.
Oh, absolutely. Because the walkout, man, one to be remembered. When Chan Sung Jung, the Korean zombie, walked out, just seeing the crowd get on their feet, be on singing their hearts out, being on their feet, cheering for him, seeing the love that the Korean zombie got was unmatched. He came out and had the entire crowd singing his walkout music. I felt the goosebumps and the energy. Sitting, halfway across the world, watching it on TV and felt it and was like, man, just a sight to behold. And then also Max Holloway's entrance was also pretty great, was great as well. Like getting and they both got a really awesome reception. It was pretty amazing. Your thoughts and opinions?
Okay, well, I just want to say, first of all, that thankfully the UFC either came to their senses or Max Holloway is such a BA that he does not care at all about the like no flags rule. And he rocked that Hawaii all the way from the back into the octagon and then all the way back out again. Because I kind of missed that. Like I liked that development where like fighters were walking their flag into the octagon and like keeping it. Like I know for whatever reason the UFC was like, nah, you can't do that. And I guess like there's an opportunity there for like some not nice things to happen because flags are like symbols and all that. But I, I don't know. I really like it when a fighter reps their country like that.
Yeah, the from my understanding, yeah, Max got it cleared with the UFC because of all the things that are happening in Hawaii right now. That's why a lot of the fighters were walking out with the like UFC hearts. Um, I believe it said Hawaii or
Hawaii,
Maui. I
yeah.
can't remember exactly. Hawaii, UFC
Hmm.
hearts Hawaii. He got it cleared that like the UFC was like down with him walking out with the flag, with Hawaiian flag, which I thought was dope. Thoughts and prayers to those who were affected. Thoughts and prayers to those who were affected by the fires in Maui. Max Holloway, if you saw his interview, post interview, gave a lot of really great resources that you can reach, check out. and use if you feel inclined to like help out. So if you'd like to, please go and check it out. But yes, it was really cool. I thought I enjoyed seeing him coming out with the his Hawaiian flag. That was pretty dope. Um, Another part, I kind of even just watching the beginning of the fight, I kind of felt that that was going to be Chen Sung Jung's last fight, the Korean Zombie's last fight, because just everything was so perfect. Like, it could like the entrance couldn't have gone better, The entrance and the like the post fight, like the walkout couldn't have gone better because even just walking down to the cage, his music starts, the crowd starts going crazy, and the call me, call me, like like that you could hear the whole crowd singing that song, singing his song. Oh man, and you've seen it, and he's like leading the chorus, leading to the song, and he's like walking around high fiving the fans. Are going crazy. He's going up. He interacts with the people on there, and like the fans are like he's standing at the front of the cage, and the crowd is like is on their feet, losing their mind, cheering for him, singing this song, and he's just soaking it in and kind of like really being present in the moment of like what 14 years of hard work, 14 years of being one of the most exciting fighters on the UFC roster, and it was just a really cool moment to see the Korean Zombie get like appreciated the way I feel like he should. So that was pretty awesome. And really quick, I know we're going to talk about the middle of the fight, but I just want to jump to the end real quick.
Mm.
The end of seeing Korean Zombie put the gloves down and retiring, and then having the entire crowd just stood up on their and they're singing the song. They're serenading him as he walks out of the ring, singing his song. The UFC turned on his music one last time. And you see the crowd like behind the Korean Zombie. They're singing for him, singing with him. Everyone's reaching out for high fives, trying to take selfies, and they're singing his song. You could feel the energy through your TV, or whether you was at a bar, there was at a sports bar. It's hard, at least it'd be hard for me to believe that there was a dry eye in the room because I've been watching the Korean Zombie for such a long time, and I couldn't help but get a tad bit emotional the walkout and the for it just that one tear is like such a great career, for a
Mm.
great fighter, great guy. Like it was a moment of gold.
Yeah, for sure. And it's the reason I think that it delivered so much is it was kind of a moment for both guys. It's
Mhm.
Max is coming in with all of the weight before you even get to the Hawaii stuff and being so close to that and being one of the biggest representatives of that community that's public facing. Like before you even get to all of that, he's a guy who outside of one person, it's he's on a massive, massive undefeated streak. Everybody at featherweight gets melted by this dude, but there's one guy who he's stuck under who the judges have said that he's lost 2, 3 times. So to mentally have to deal with that and still get up and get motivated for a fight in the first place is really, really difficult. And then to go beyond that, to be devastated by a disaster in your community that's close to your home with people that you probably know that are very affected and in a very traumatic way. To put all of that on yourself, in addition to the pressure from before, and to still come out and perform, and get your first finish in a few years over a legend. I mean, what can't this dude do?
Yeah,
It's
and
we have to stop doubting what Max can do. And
anyone, I feel like
that to
anyone who
me,
doubts what Max can do is is
well, here's the thing. It's
I
we
would
say that
it's
now,
crazy.
but going in,
Like,
it's a lot of people say, well, like he's just kind of gatekeeping, right? Before
and
before this
that's such a
performance,
crazy thing. That's like, I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's such a
yeah,
crazy for people to think. Like, I've heard that too. I've heard people felt like, oh, Max Holloway's gatekeeping, but I think that for the hardcore fans or the fans, like true fans of the sport, we all understand the greatness of the blessed express, Max Holloway, like the GOAT. I feel like one of probably the best in my opinion, right? Outside of Volkanovski, because he, if you think about it, if I'm not mistaken, the only losses Max Holloway has had is to Volkanovski. Am I wrong?
at featherweight, yeah,
Because I feel
it's
that, like, yeah, at featherweight,
it's
he's
he had the Poirier thing
he's
recently,
mm,
but other than that, it's been
mm,
years.
yeah, like Volkanovski, literally the person people are considering the pound for pound best, the only person. He's turned Max Holloway is only 31. So for people to say he's like gatekeeping or it's like it may be time is craziness. He's only 31 and he started so young. Didn't he start like at 20 or something like that? And then has just been with the UFC forever because he just started super young, became champion, became and like he's literally cemented himself in the history books of MMA, in my opinion, in the history of this division, in the history books of the division. His name is etched into the the stone marble, into the books. It's gonna. I would imagine it'd be hard to talk about the featherweight division without talking about Max Holloway and the impact he's had on this division. So I do hear people say he's washed out or he's gatekeeping, but to people who say that, I think they're just ill informed
Well, I
of
think
who he is and
they're
what he
not
has done,
appreciating his position.
the
It's
greatness. Yeah.
yeah, it's they're not appreciating what he's doing in the time he's doing it. I think when people look back at his career as a whole and they look at what Alex Volkanovski will continue to do and what he's already done, I think people will have the same sort of discussions that they do nowadays about like John Jones and DC. Whereas if
Hmm.
you remember when they were both active, a lot of people disrespected DC because the feeling was he will never beat John Jones. And a lot of people disrespect Max Holloway because the feeling is, well, you're just hanging around beating people and you're not going to get one over on Volk. So you're just wasting our time, I guess is how some people are seeing it. But
It's
there
crazy.
is absolute certified greatness happening in front of you. And if you're not appreciating it now, you're going to pretend that you appreciated it in like 5 years time. That's how it's going to. The same way people act like,
Oh
oh, I
yeah.
always rated DC. There were absolutely people who did not like DC who just because he lost,
Hmm.
just because he lost. It's that's the simple and plain. They want to identify at the time with John Jones because John Jones was beating DC, and they want to feel like they have some sort of personal attachment to that. So even though they may like DC's personality better, which time has proven out, everybody likes DC. At the time, they went against him just because he lost, and that's what's happening now with Holloway.
Yeah, I think we're watching history being made. We're watching a future first round Hall of Famer, in my opinion. We're watching just a legendary fighter having a legendary career in the making. And I feel that, oftentimes you're seeing just one standout fighter, right? But I feel that in this division at featherweight, you're seeing essentially two legendary fighters essentially coinciding in the same era, same thing, like you were saying with DC and John, but you're seeing it with Volkanovski and you're seeing it with Max Holloway. These two guys are 1A and 1B. It's it's Holloway and Volkanovski here, and then there's everybody else. Like everybody else is working their way up, but they proved over time that there are levels to this game. And then, like you said, people, I think that's the way it is for artists, for athletes, for anybody who's great at their craft. Generally, you don't get those flowers until the end of your career, or once you finish. People then you'll see a lot of either one and two, one. You'll see the fans who really support and be like, "Oh man, what a wonderful career!" Oh, da, da. But then you also see the people, like you said, who pretend to like care and be like, "Man, I always knew Max was great, and y'all sleeping on Max." But when they were the people who was saying, "Oh man, he's a gatekeeper," it's like, where was that energy at? But I think it was like when DC retired, everybody was like, "Man, true goat, goat." But where was that same energy? So I think Max Holloway still has a chance at the belt. I think he deserves another shot. Um, I would like to see that happen. I know from if I'm not mistaken, from what I saw during the UFC press conference, I don't think Dana's super keen on making that happen anytime soon, but I think it should happen at some point before Max retires and Volt decides he doesn't want to like be at this weight class anymore because he is huge for the weight class. But I feel like it needs to happen at least one more time because I think
Yeah,
Max is just going to keep
it's
at some point. Max is just going to keep on beating people, and you just can't deny him.
yeah, it's I think as far as deserving a shot at the title, I think he's done more than enough. I think his next fight should be for the title. The only sort of leeway or benefit of the doubt I'll give to Dana White on saying that he's not a fan of Max versus Volk 4 is if he knows something that we don't. If basically if Volk is planning one more defense and then up to 55, I'll forgive that notion because if it's not in the context of 45, I don't need that fight again necessarily. The reason I want that fight is because Max deserves to fight for the title again more than anybody else by far and away. Like even when you can if the division was loaded with guys who were on the rise and who looked like they could do it, I would still come out of this event feeling like Max deserves another shot based off of his last few performances and what he's done in the division. So if Volk is on his way up, I can understand that. But if he's not, or there's not some sort of plan going on in place, you have to find something for Max. You can't keep doing this to him where you feed him. I mean, sure, this time he gets a veteran who's on what he knew coming in might be his last fight, but you've just been feeding him the young, hungry guys who make it to the top of the pile, and he keeps turning them all back. He sends them all away, and none of them have been particularly close in the recent past. So you can't just keep feeding him your biggest challenges, and then when he beats them, you just go, okay, well, we'll try somebody else next time, I guess. Like there has to be a path for him to move forward in
I agree.
in the division.
I agree. I think he's in the same position as Wonder Boy because I feel like so far how fights are being made, it's been the same. Him and Wonder Boy have been in a similar position where they are both great fighters, but they have been not relegated, but it feels like they're being given all of the young, hungry, upcoming people. And I feel that they shouldn't Wonder Boy, Max Holloway, where, hey, hey, fight this brand new up and comer. Oh, here, fight this other surging up and comer. Like waiting for someone to win against him so they can build their name and build that prospect. And I think there should be a a road to the title for both fighters. There should like, hey, build a what to be like, hey, you know what? Because since the Taiwan Woodley fight, he's been fighting guys below him. And it's same for Max Holloway. Max Holloway, after the Volk fights, he's just been fighting guys who are ranked technically underneath him. And we're just being who are just while they could be show a lot of potential, could be great, they're just not on his level. If we're just being very honest. And I think that at some point, like you're gonna have to give him like what he deserves, a chance at the title. But also, I mean, excluding the fight with Zombie, I feel like that was someone that was on Max's level, and Zombie came out there and put on a show, and so did Holloway because they both had their moments. First round, they're going back and forth, and it was an exciting fight. Second round, back and forth. Holloway had his big moments. Zombie had his moments. Literally, I thought Holloway almost had the walk off KO, but again, Zombie living up to his name, took it on the chin and was like, "I'm not out of here yet." Went for the legs. Holloway being the great guy he is, he's like, "Let me not." He thought he was out of here. Had the Darce choke, the Anaconda, my bad, the Anaconda choke in. It was tight. I thought it was over. Apparently, from the interviews, he thought it was over. He heard gurgling and all kinds of noises. So he was like talking to the ref, like, "Hey, aren't you gonna like?" He's out. Like you should check. And Zombie again, Korean Zombie, BKZ. I had to think about the initials. The Korean Zombie, living up to the moniker of being a zombie, literally fought through a super tight Anaconda, fought his way out, was like, do, get to the third round. Crowd is on their feet. They're going crazy. It was one, most times you're going to see, like, if Holloway's fighting someone, they're booing the other guy. You know what I mean? Or, like, if you're fighting in the hometown of somebody, like, you're fighting in East Asia, fighting in, like, Singapore, fighting in Asia, where, a lot of, Chen Sung Jung's fans were coming. It was usually you see the crowd go for one side or the other, but it was really cool to see like the crowd cheer for both fighters. Like the Korean Zombie would have his moments, and the crowd would be like, "Oh, Chen Sung Jung, Chen Sung Jung, Chen Sung Jung," and then like Hollow would start hitting, and they'll be like, Holloway, Holloway," which was crazy. It was a great fight to see. And then the third round, I think this is just my opinions on it. I think the Zombie got to a point where he was like, "Hey," he wanted to go out on his terms. He was going to handle the fight his way. He was like, "Hey, I'm going to go out there and it's going to either be kill or be killed, for to win or lose." You know what I mean? Like, he was like, "I'm going to go out on my sword." And I think a lot of fighters have say that, like, "Oh man, I'm willing to go out on my sword." But when it comes down to it, most people are not about that life. I think it's a nice thing to say. It's a cool, not a nice thing. It's a cool thing to say. In the interview, like, "I'm ready to go out on my sword. I'm a tough guy." But a lot of people are not built for the league like that. They're not built for that life. Unlike Zombie, Zombie went out there and had a firefight in the booth. He said, "Hey," he wanted to go out. He was walking forward, taking punches. He was throwing. He was like, "Hey, I'm gonna either finish or be finished." Came out there throwing the punches, and like as luck would have it, Holloway just happened to catch him with the right hand, like he said. He's happy his right connected with Zombie rather than Zombie connecting with right, because who knew how it could have turned out. But then Zombie went out how he wanted to, went out on his sword, having like a bang up fight, having a great fight, and two fights between two legends. Couldn't get any better. When he took off the gloves, I was kind of like a little like, "Oh, is he retiring?" And when they had their retirement moment and the crowd went crazy for him. Even in the loss, the crowd went crazy. When they went crazy for Holloway, Holloway had a great post fight interview when he talked about Hawaii and all the things that are in Maui and like having giving people ways to having how they can help out with what's going on. But then after they talked to Zombie and he had his moment, he talked. The crowd, he put the gloves down on the thing. The crowd started cheering. They started going crazy. I started, thinking about all the years I've been a fan of Zombie. They showed his stuff, and I was sitting there just like trying to lean my head back, let gravity work the tears backwards. I was just like, I'm not crying, you're crying. Who's cutting onions in here? They got the Vidalia sweet onions out here. Like, who's out here making? And I, and but I would like to say most fans. I would be hard pressed to believe there wasn't a dry eye in the crowd. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't a dry eye out there. Like everybody, and then getting to see him high five for his fans, having the heroes welcome and a hero's farewell. They was taking photos, people was high fiving. He got to walk out with his man. I'm getting a little emotional right now. Think reminiscing on it. But it was such a great send off for such a great fighter and such a great career. So enjoy retirement, Chance Jung, the Korean Zombie, a legend forever. You probably don't watch the show, but if you do, I hope you enjoy. Enjoy a great retirement, But same, I think the next step for Holloway is a title shot. I don't see who else you're fighting. I think
Yeah, I mean, I would think
once
so.
Volk,
When you look at that fight, like you said, they both had moments. I think Zombie felt good about the third round and like chart because he had touched him a few times and he was putting a lot of volume out there. So it's and he got a couple good reactions from Max. But the reason that I think he's just shown it all again and why I'm so adamant that he should get another title shot is like he just came in the phone booth with, and you can't hang in that phone booth with. Like when Max Holloway points at the ground, it's time to back up. Don't come forward. Don't step in his circle. Like it's time to put on your ice hat and let cooler heads prevail because it's not a good time to bite down on your mouthpiece when he's asking for it. It's you cannot hang in the phone booth with. I don't know what it is. Like he knows where all the space is and you don't. It's you're running into the hard like metal part of the phone with your chin and he's like ducking out to the side.
I know Holloway's a big Naruto fan, so if you are watching this, but he understands. I feel like Max Holloway has the Sharingan. I know you're not a big fan of Naruto, but I
Yeah,
know that you probably have fans who are, and I know Max Holloway is a big fan of Naruto. So if this ever does come across him, he has the Sharingan. He sees, like to your point of him seeing all the space and the other opponent not seeing it. It feels like he sees the movements coming. Like he's at best boxer in the UFC. He sees like I feel like he sees like the moves coming in. He's just like ha 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 da 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 da. Little, you can kind of what is it called? Counteract, or you can kind of like plan
counterattack.
for counterattack. Thank you. You can counter the opponent's moves because you're like, okay, you coming up with a hook, okay, to the side body shot, or you coming up with a sword side shot, knock the sword out. You know what I mean? Fireball jutsu. I thought it'd be a great tie-in because I know he's a big Naruto fan, so am I. So now you have a little bit more Naruto knowledge in your life. Who doesn't love that?
Uh,
But the
we'll use
next
that as
fight
the
that one,
transition. Yeah, let's move down the card. After we've
it's
taken
it's
it
a
to
great show.
anime, yeah, after we've taken it to anime, there's nowhere left to go in the main event. We gotta bail out into the co-main.
It's a great show, and then also Max Holloway is a fan of Naruto, so it fits with what you were saying. He sees all the spaces, and no one else doesn't. Sharingan all day, best ocular jutsu. That's what I was looking for. Ocular. There you go. This is what I do for you.
All right, we hit all the angles that are available on that one. Let's talk about Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann because some people like seemed upset about this fight um, after it was over and when they were reading the decision, but I don't know. I think this is one of those ones where it's just like it's kind of a close one. Both guys could have won it, and ultimately, I can't like nobody had such a good performance that I'm gonna say, oh, they totally deserve it, or they got robbed, or anything like that. Like this was just a close fight between two guys who are ranked in kind of like the middle of the division that probably match up pretty decently, and it's just they kind of neutralized each other a little bit, and it came out pretty close.
I was happy for Anthony Smith to get back into the win column. I thought he won the first round, if I'm remembering it correctly. And
Yeah.
then it was second round, which was it got a little hairy for him because I feel like he matches. I feel that he matches well with Ryan Smith, but like but I feel like he's a person who has all the potential to be really good, But as a fan of his, I'm sure he would agree with this. The consistency kind of hasn't been there in the past couple of fights, but when he does get on, he's I feel like it's a hard person to stop, in my opinion, So I thought he looked a lot better during this fight. And then pretty much so the first round I was like, okay, feeling good, like him getting back into the win column. Second round, Ryan Spann really did hurt him with that like right.
Mm.
And then so I was like, oh, that look, from what he said he like it didn't like hurt her, but he just couldn't see out of that, so he was backing up. And then
Yeah.
Ryan threw that flying knee, but it kind of, after you saw it in slow motion, it kind of just hit the shoulder. I thought it hit him with the knee, and then Ryan Spann had a big moment right there, but luckily, um, Anthony Smith was able to fight back, come back from it, be like, nah, not today, not again. And third round was very close, I would say. I feel like the decision maker was the third round, and to see Anthony get the win, I thought he won the fight, but I thought it was definitely a split decision. So I was happy to see him get the win. I personally kind of like, even though he didn't make a call out, and I know we talked about having a good post fight interview,
Mm.
I still thought it was kind of a good one. I thought because even though he didn't call out anyone, he did promote his podcast with Michael Bisping, because Bisping, he works for he works at for the UFC company, man. Always the professional. He can't just be like, hey, y'all, check out my SoundCloud, check out my podcast, and like, because that's just it's not professional. But I feel like they both work together. They have a great podcast. If you haven't seen it, believe you me, check it out. It's great. Y'all are welcome. I'm sure they don't need like helping them advocate for their podcast, but it's a good one. You should check it out. But I thought it was cool that him being like, hey, I'm gonna just spend some time with my wife, kids, grab a beer and record Believe You Me. And I was like, oh, that's a perfect, in a way, a perfect moment to pitch the show to people or to let people know about it. You have all these people. You have however many, couple of minutes to tell the world anything, and you tell them, hey, check out our podcast that we do. You get new fans. You're getting, bringing money into y'all's pockets. So I think I'm here for it. I thought it was good. So those are my thoughts. Have you ever actually seen the podcast?
Yeah, it's I've listened to a few. Uh, I do listen like occasionally. It's not like
Mhm.
I'm not like an every week listener, but every now and again, like something will be kind of brewing, and I'll catch a clip, or maybe I'll listen to a full episode every now and again. But it's definitely a good podcast, and I thought that it kind of translated over to the post fight interview. I thought that was one of the more
Mhm.
kind of unique dynamics, I guess, between Bisping and Anthony Smith. it was much more kind of like you could definitely tell they had a bunch of conversations basically because the way that they interacted and the kind of informality that was there and how much like Bisping just kind of let Anthony Smith kind of run the post fighter. It wasn't like, normally they have the structured questions of like, okay, describe how that performance and what were you thinking when the judges read the decision? What would you like next or when would you like to get back in here? It's usually like those
Mhm.
questions and they don't really deviate, but you could definitely tell that they had a personal relationship, kind of like added a nice little like wrinkle and something a little special to the post fight interview.
Yeah, because I feel like Michael Bisping, a legend, great. I enjoy his personality. I think he's a great. I think he's awesome. And then so is uh Anthony Smith, and you could see, during the interview, like you said, that like you could see that they have that relationship, and the being friends. But I feel like I can understand the spot Michael Bisping was in because I feel like he was trying to be professional and not be like, when you see your guy win, one of your friends win, you're like, heck yeah, that's awesome. Hey, you did it. Like, let's go. You want to have that feeling, but you're live on TV. You want to be professional. You want to be down the middle because I know he was probably thinking like, if Ryan Spann would have won, it's like, oh, he has to still be professional and still ask those same questions and be like, hey. I know he was thinking in his mind like, oh man, I have to talk to Ryan Spann. Like, what am I going to say? But Bisping's always the professional being like, hey, me not seem too biased, even though I'm happy that my friend won, my guy won, let me be very professional down the middle. I will let Anthony say what he needs to say, let him take, do the questions. So I was like, I can understand that. I've been in the situation trying to be professional. You're like, but you're like, all right, cool. It's gonna be very neutral. We're gonna keep it going. And then so yeah, I thought it was cool. But the next one, the Giga Chikadze fight and the Alex Caceres fight. What are your thoughts on it?
Uh, this was one of the more like I didn't think that it was bad entertainment necessarily, but I watched these kind of like after the fact because the fights were on so early. So I had already when I went into this fight, I already knew that Alex Caceres breaks his arm in round one, and he just keeps fighting through it. So
I did not know
the
he
whole
broke his
time,
arm.
yeah, it's he even posted X-rays maybe like a couple days after.
What?
Yeah, so
That's
it's he had a
crazy.
broken. It was on one of the high kicks that he blocked with his arm, just bang,
Hmm.
and broke in the first round. So I was watching all of that, knowing that in context. So the whole time, what was essentially happening is they fought a kickboxing fight, and Giga's a former kickboxer. So Giga was winning
A deck,
the
yeah,
fight.
world class striker.
Yeah. So it's Giga was winning the whole time, but Alex was doing okay. He was still having moments. He was like he wasn't being so unsuccessful that like you'd break down your game plan and just throw it all out the window and say, "No more of this. We got to switch to something else." Uh, which to me was impressive in the context of having a broken arm, but ultimately it was a very straightforward 30-27, and there wasn't a whole lot of times where I thought Giga was in big trouble or he was in danger of being finished or something was going to happen. I never really got that feeling uh, from it. So the fight didn't offer quite as much entertainment value as I thought maybe it could have if Alex had like two working arms in there. Uh, I think it could have been something more special because Alex is a fun guy and I like to watch him fight. But it's again, can't blame anybody. Stuff happens, freak stuff happens, and ultimately, nice win for Giga. did what he's supposed to do. And on his post fight, he goes in there, calls for December 6th. He talked about he had an 18-month injury layoff. It was basically like, hey, I didn't have income for 18 months, so I'm trying to get one more. Whoever it is, you can get it. Like December 6th. I'm trying, you know. So it's absolutely respect the hustle, respect trying to get right back in there. Um, but maybe the contest didn't live up to what maybe it could have been under different circumstances.
Yeah, one of the things I feel like we gotta also touch on for like Giga's post fight conference, post fight the interview, right?
Mm.
The how the fake out that happened in the beginning of it with him and Bisping when he came up and he was the fake out where he was so serious. He started off with like, "Hey, Bisbee, got something super important to tell you. Just been thinking about it so much." Bisbee was like, "Oh, what do you have to say?" And he was just like, "Man, such an important thing. I just been thinking about it." And he gets Mike when he's just like, "All right, the thing is, Giga is back." He's like, "We back at it again, December 6th, December 12th, whatever date he said. I'm taking anybody." And I was like, "Oh, that was funny. I thought that was pretty good." I was like, "Okay, the switch up in energy," because I feel like from the interviews I've seen of his, he's not really that like animated of a person or that like lively. So I thought that was interesting. I thought it was funny. I thought it was cool. Different from the usual. Like the energy, the energy. You got to feel that when you win. But on the Alex Caceres part, I was watching it unaware of the fact that he broke his forearm, which
Mm.
is crazy. Because I thought he looked good in there. I thought it wasn't like complete blowout. Yes, Giga did win. I knew that when I was watching it. Like, okay, he won that round, won that. You know what I mean? But just to know that he was out there having a kickboxing match with a world class champion slash striker. If I'm not mistaken, he is a kickboxing champion, world class striker. He was having with one arm, essentially. And I don't know if it's just me or in my opinion, or I don't know if it's just me or my personal opinion. I think Alex Caceres is actually hitting his stride now. Like he's getting better. I feel like he's in his prime now. Like I remember him being on the Ultimate Fighter, and um, I was pulling for him to win that season because I was like, they came in Bruce Leroy, and I was like, oh man, he's him and I can't remember. I think it may. I don't know. I feel like he might be the only fighter from that season that I like remember. I'm sure that if I saw a roster, I could probably be like, oh, this guy and that guy. But I remember him from that season, and I feel that like through the ups and downs of his career, I feel like right now he's like hitting his prime. He's hitting his stride. I know he said he doesn't really connect himself to the wins and losses, but just going out there and like having fun or like essentially enjoying the matches. And I think, yeah, in my opinion, I think he's just now hitting his stride and starting to like really get going.
So, do you have a thought of anybody you'd like to see Giga fix next? Because I kind of feel like with the date in mind, I feel like he's just going to take whoever he can get.
Not wait, what weight class? I forgot what weight class is this?
This is 145 featherweight.
Mm, I I'm trying to think. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head that I'm like, ooh, this person like right now, right here, right? But I think he'd be down to take anybody just because he's like, hey, I didn't make a particular call out. I think the matchmakers would probably go to their room and kind of be like, oh, this fight. Because I'm trying to think. I don't have any particular match per se, like lined up and being like, I would want to see this. But I think I'd be just interested in seeing him fight in general. But a fight that I do feel like has big potential is the Aaron Blanchfield and Talia Santos fight. I thought both did a good job. I thought Aaron Blanchfield did do enough to win. Talia Santos did come out strong, like because I was thinking like, okay, they say whenever you become the champion, you become 3% better. I think that's the phrasing. 3% better. We're just gonna say three. Sounds right. But no, they say when you become the champion, you become 3% better. And I think it's the same too when you are fighting the champion and you have such a close fight because a lot of people thought um Valentino won it, but then also a lot of people thought Talia Santos won it because there was a close fight. I think that prior to Alexa Grasso getting the finish, I think she was the closest in a while as far as someone who made Valentina uncomfortable. Because she was giving her a fair run for her money. So I thought, okay, you're probably gonna be, you know, that experience is gonna make such a big difference going into this fight. And I was like, it can either go one way or the other. Either this is gonna be a really close match or it's gonna be a blowout. And she came out really strong in the first round. This is a big fight for Erin Blanchfield to see like really test herself, because she's been good. She's been really good in her fights, and so I was curious to see like, okay, is she gonna like surprise the crowd or like Talia Santos's dominance gonna run through? And then she lost the first round, but she rallied back very strong in that second and third round. So I'm excited to. I know she said she wants to fight the winner of Grasso and Shevchenko. Uh, I'm personally okay with that. I would like to see her get that chance at the title now because I think if you beat someone like Talia Santos, what is there next other than a potential title shot?
Yeah, I mean, so the fight that this reminded me of while I was watching it live was the Merab Dvalishvili fight against Aldo. Uh, it wasn't as frustrating as that because I thought it's when I'm remembering that fight, I don't remember Aldo having as much early success, but they're similar in the same way that uh, Dvalishvili and Blanchfield both just kind of wore down the Brazilian. And even though they didn't finish all their takedowns, it's the pressure and the action of constantly pressing them against the cage and making them fight in in their kind of arena and where they want to have the fight was ultimately what kind of decided it. And so yeah, I thought it was a good performance from Blanchfield. Uh, Santos might have let herself down a little bit in certain positions with the grappling, and maybe a little bit with the cardio. But I think you're right that that type of performance does deserve a title shot. But I will not be excited about that title shot. I really thought that that was an opportunity to at least state if you're not gonna like pick pick the winner of that fight and like basically bet that you can decide who's gonna win that and then call them out specifically. I think that's fine, but she didn't really do anything to big herself up and to like stake her claim. She didn't really have any claim. She didn't say like, "Oh, I'm the real best one in this division." They're just keeping that warm for me. Like there was no sort of salesmanship at all with it. She was just like, "Yeah, and I'd like to fight next for the title." It's like, yeah, I guess, but like I don't know. Like from an entertainment perspective, if that's going to be your kind of style of fight, you need to be bringing something to the table of like, kind of sell yourself. Like say, "Hey,
Hmm.
I'm the one. Like I'm the next one. It's nobody else." Like make an argument kind of a deal. Not don't just
Hmm.
say like, "Hey, I'd like that next." and this positions me well for it or whatever. It's like do a little, like, sprinkle some marketing on it a little bit, like you're allowed to. You
Sprinkle a
don't
little
have to just,
adobo on it.
yeah, like, just don't don't run out the, like, boiled chicken and be like, yeah, aren't you guys excited? I'm bringing the boiled chicken to the party. It's like, no, nobody's excited. Literally nobody.
You gotta come with a little bit of that seasoning. Um, I can understand those points. Yeah, you gotta come in with a little pizzazz, little kind of the marketing promos, the WWE promos. Like, hey, I am here. I am ready for the fight. I'm here to make it happen. It's like I think it's the
Or like,
safe.
I just had this idea.
Um,
Okay, if you
mhm,
can't do that, just no show the interview. Just like grab the mic real quick, go, I'm next for the title, and walk away. And don't
mic
answer
drop.
any questions. Don't turn around. Yeah, don't, like, if you can't think of anything to say to, like, be entertaining, or like you don't have kind of the personality for it, just no show the interview. Just like grab it real quick and then walk away. Don't, like, take pictures in the octagon. Don't, like, any of that stuff where the camera can focus on you. Like, you just want the shot of you grabbing the mic and then turn around and booking it out. Just like, not running, but like, walk out.
Yeah, running is crazy. You just gotta
Yeah.
be. I'm next. Just walk out of there. Yeah, because running would look crazy. I'm next. Where are they going? I think that would have the opposite effect. Where are they going? Where is he going? You saw a dude doing the thing, like, where's he going? You saw a girl do it. Where is she going? Like, what is going on here? Like, I'm next. And walk off. It's a lot cooler. Yeah.
And
Can't
that way you
power
don't have
walk
to
your
make
way out of
anything
the
up.
arena.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You don't have to have any fancy lines. You don't have to, like, even say anything you're uncomfortable with. It's the same in terms of what you actually have to say, but at least somebody would be interested. At least, like, that would be a different thing that doesn't happen all the time. Like, there would be some
Mhm.
sort of entertainment level to it. Whereas you just, like, stand there, answer the questions, and then go, I'd like the title next, please. Like, okay, great.
See, I feel like the only downside to that, right? To that strategy, while it is like a good one because it does make you stand out, be different, right? Making someone unique. Only downside to that is that move or technique is a rifle shot, in my opinion. It's like loading like one of those old like muskets, or
Mhm.
like loading a rifle. You got one shot for that opportunity because you can't do that multiple times. You know what I mean? That is a one
Yeah.
time, and like you got to pick your moment to do that. Because I think that you can't do that every time you walk into the mic. Someone, let's say, do it and people like, oh my god, oh yeah, this person's really here. They stake their claim. I feel like you got to do that once you're in her position. Like you get into that top five, kind of area. You at the top of the top 10. Because you imagine being number 15. You're like, I'm here. People be like, oh man, they're really there. That next one, that next post fight conference, you gotta come with something. You gotta have something prepared because you can't go, I'm here. They'd be like, yeah, we kind of know that. And you just ruined another mic. That's $20 worth of equipment you just messed up again.
Well, like, the thought would be that you
Mhm.
do this on the way up, and then hopefully, like, you win the belt. But if you don't win the belt, then, like, yeah, you can't do it again. You gotta
Yeah,
you
I
gotta
was
think of
giving you a
something
hard
else.
time, but no.
But it is a
Mhm.
one use only. It is like a disposable trick. But, like,
Yeah,
anything is better than just, like, every other single
yeah.
interview between the interviewer that night and the next part. Like,
Mhm.
this is supposed to be special because you're supposed to be like the number one contender now. You
Yeah,
you have to like have a moment to make that stick. Whereas you just going like, I'd like the next shot, please. Like, what's the difference between that and like when Raul Rosas Jr. Called out Aljamain Sterling? It's like that is of equal
yeah,
value if you don't sell it on top.
yeah, yeah. Because I think it's like how you were saying, like the Key and Peele skit when the guy came out, he was like, "Yeah, we came out here, gave 100% of 100%, play 4 quarters, play all 4 quarters, don't take your foot off the gas." You know, and they were like, oh, "Okay, cool. What are your plans for next weekend?" Play one game at a time, play all 4 quarters, 4 downs, give it 100% of 100%. It's like the most generic of all the lines, and I know in the moment it's kind of it can be hard sometimes though, like like, okay, what I'm gonna say, got the adrenaline going, got the fans going, it could be hard, but yeah, yeah, that is a one use only, uh like when the disinfectant wipes, you just gotta use it once. I think this is just how I see it is, once you are getting into top number one contendership area, I feel like everyone should have one thing planned when you get to that point to just really stake your claim at the championship. If you don't cause equipment damage and cost, maybe you go, "Hey, I'm next." Hand the microphone back to Bisbing or DC or whoever is talking to you. Or think of something witty, think of something clever, think of something like funny, be charismatic, try, or practice something in the mirror. You know, it's a lot of things. But
I mean, you could even write it down on a note card. I don't think that everyone's going to get mad at you for reading off a note card.
oh no, because Tatsuro Taira, um, the the he actually did that. When he won his, I think, first or second fight in the UFC, the Japanese flyweight, I believe he is.
Hmm.
Once he crushed his first two opponents, uh, they came out. The translator came out, and they asked him some questions. They translated, and then she gave him a note card that he had actually had, and he was practicing his English, so he had it written out like a phrase in English that he wanted to say to the fans, since he's still like working on his English,
Hmm.
and being like, "Hey, da 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 da," and he was reading off, and then everyone thought it was great. Everyone was cool with it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of a Japanese fighter with good English, uh, slightly different weight class. This one's at 135. Let's talk about the fight one down, man. Talk
I
to me
was
about your
so
boy.
excited for this. Yeah, Rinya Nakamura, always going, always got to represent, Team Japan, Team USA, always got to represent. Um, but yes, Rinya Nakamura, can't say enough good things about the man. I feel like him and Tatsuro Taira are I think, going to be the next big things at flyweight, at bantamweight. Possibly one of them, I feel like, going to be possibly the first champion for the UFC. At one point in time, had aspirations of being like the first, technically being half, like, guess you could say,
Yeah, we'll
first
count it.
cap
Put it on
Japanese
the board.
champion. But yeah, well, I guess we'll cut it. You know what I mean? But those days are long past. But I truly believe he's going to be. I think he's going to be a champion. Um, Mystic Malik. Here's one of my picks. I think he's going to be a champion one day. Great wrestling, great striking. Um, he was going for a lot of submission attempts. Road to UFC winner, like, and this was one of the first fights that really seen the wrestling, because he was coming out there, if I'm not mistaken, 7-0, now 8-0, 7-0 coming into this fight. Five of the seven wins were in the first round TKO or knockout. KO first. Five of the seven are KO or TKO finishes. Six in the first round. Let's put that exclamation point on it. 5 of the 7 are first round KO TKOs, and 6 are just KO TKOs in general. Only one win by decision. Came out there. A lot of people don't know about this, but he was actually a Japanese hopeful, like a Japanese Olympic wrestling team hopeful. You know what I mean? Like he was actually his wrestling was good enough to like potentially be on the Japanese Olympic team. Butchering that word because it's 2 a.m. But he was actually trying out for the Japanese Olympic wrestling team and transitioned into MMA. So we really got to see a lot of that on display during the UFC Singapore card because he came out there with the blast doubles. He came out there with the takedowns, the wrestling top tier. Oh man, he attempted. He got into North South. You don't see that often. That's in there. You get hit with the North South, and then he went to that North South choke. Don't see that often. How many times do we see that in a fight? Had it tight, had a and but wasn't like sometimes you'll see a lot of fighters when they go for the wrestling, they'll get on top and they'll kind of lay and pray. Nah, there was no lay and pray. This was all action on the feet, all action on the ground. He said, "Get this work. I'm going for submissions. I'm going for arm bars. I'm going for north south chokes. I'm going for Kimuras. Everything and anything." He striking. I think beat him in the striking department. He definitely beat him in the grappling. Um, just cardio for days. We got to see a lot of that good wrestling and seeing breaking out as a prospect for the bantamweight division. I do think as he moves up, he's going to do great things. I think he poses a challenge for those at the top, or if he continues at this rate, he poses a challenge for the current champion Sean O'Malley because he does have that KO power, but he does have the wrestling. He does have the cardio. I know it's too early to be talking about title fights, but he is a one of the first, like him and Tatsuro Fire are one of the first prospects for Japan in a very long time. But I think yes, he is came out there with the bilingual English and speaks Japanese, came out there with the English, went out there, did well. Yeah, I know he was kind of like it felt kind of bad he didn't get to finish, but hey, when you're getting 6 of your 8 are knockouts slash TKOs, and 5 of those 8 are in the first round, I don't think you have anything to be disappointed about because 2 dominant decision was, hey, come on now. I don't think he has anything to worry about. But let me, we all know how I feel about it. He did great. But what are your thoughts on the fight? I could go
Yeah,
on
like
forever.
I think that he's a super interesting prospect. I think he really announced himself uh, in the division, and I think that being on the main card, I thought that's great opportunity for him to kind of have that showcase and be able to show himself to the UFC and to the fans. And I thought he really took full advantage of that. It's like you said, like 3 rounds of grappling masterclass, basically. Uh, didn't look uncomfortable anywhere. Ton of submission threats. Ton of submission threats. He was trying really, really hard to get that submission and multiple rounds. He came close with a few different things, but shout out to his opponent Fernie Garcia for being super tough and fighting off those submissions. Uh, Only
Hmm.
like small criticism I could even sort of give is like if he could incorporate the ground and pound and not looking for the clean submissions all the time, just soften up that kind of target first, kind of make wear on him some, kind of make it more difficult, like make the guy on bottom more willing to quit and give you something. It's That's really the only thing that he's got to kind of work on. Um, like you said, the English was very, very, very good for that being your first time on like a main card and getting the opportunity in front of the UFC audience. And he trains with ATT, so I'm guessing they're all the people in the gym are helping bring him along with that stuff too. So he's really like brought himself in, is practicing clearly and making already great strides with that. So I'm hyped for it. I think that he's a great prospect. I would like to see his next one continue to be outside of the top 15. I don't want him to get a top 15 yet. I want them to kind of put him on the Bo Nickel track where you go, okay, like he just dominated a guy. Let's see like a step up first before we go like the whole enchilada and be like, oh, you're just ready for the top 15 now. Like, don't
Mhm.
protect his record or nothing, but give him something a little bit harder. Maybe a guy who's a little more grappling heavy, and let's see what he's got on the feet.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm not against slow building and like doing it the Shot O'Malley route or like the Bo Nickel route. Like, build build your skills, build your knowledge, build your experiences. You know what I mean? Um, become the king of the unranked, and then when the opportunity approaches, hey, make the most of it. Because then that way you build your name recognition, build that brand, build that excitement in your fights. Shavkat is literally 18-0, literally building it up off just impressive finish after impressive finish after impressive finish. Now he's number 6 in the world, and I feel like if you don't know his name, now you know. And I think that's going to be much of the same for Rinya Nakamura. If you watch the road to the UFC, you already know it's a name you already know. If you was watching last fight, if you was watching the UFC Singapore, it's a name to remember, and we'll be like looking forward to what he does in the future. Another notable fight on the card was the Tafa brothers fight. Justin Tafa, I believe, no, Junior Tafa, right? Yes, Junior
Yes.
Tafa. Apologize. The Tafa brothers, Junior Tafa, came through first round knockout punch. That was crazy. I know that I enjoy seeing that fight. I think both the Tafas are good fighters. They're fun to watch. He came in, and I know against Parker Porter, I feel like it's not a sibling rivalry, but it kind of feels a little bit of it. Like his brother beat Parker Porter. You feel like as the younger brother, you feel like, okay, your sibling was able to beat this dude. You kind of feel like, oh, I kind of need to come up, show up as well, because lose that fight. I'm sure, in all in good fun, but I'm sure his brother would not let him live that down. Be like, hey, you ever get into an argument, be like, hey, I beat Parker Porter. What did you do? You know what I mean? I'm sure that would come up all in good fun, but so he had to show up, show out, and that's what he did. Shut the lights out with an early first round punch. Sorry, mother.
Yeah, no, he made it look easy, man. And if you're Parker Porter, like you gotta be sick of seeing these dudes. Like just stop, UFC, stop setting me up with these dudes. Like enough of these guys. I've seen enough of them. Like you gave me the first guy, and now you give me his brother who looks just like him. Like, can we just get a that's enough for Parker Porter? Can we get him some relief? Like, no more of these guys. Like, give him somebody who looks different at least. Maybe some people who
If
aren't
there's a
related.
third, a third Tafa brother out there coming up on the ranks, fight Parker Porter's too. If there is a third, be like, hey, we got our youngest brother coming up the ranks. I know Parker Porter's gonna be like, nope,
Yeah,
nope,
Parker
nope,
Porter, turn that fight
hard
down. Get a
no.
different one. But yeah. So it's the only like I guess when you're kind of an unranked in the heavyweight division, it's hard to kind of get a call out of a guy that some people would know. But yeah, no call out in the end, just kind of like fun energy, really. And I feel like that could kind of carry you, if you get that reputation, especially the ability to kind of promote that. I don't know if they're doing anything with it, but if you're the Taffa brothers, the blueprint's already out there with the Diaz boys. Like that's the blueprint you should be copying. It's that that is absolutely the the blueprint. Like get yourself a name for your fans. Like I think they might even literally have like Taffa Army or something like that on. I think
Mhm.
Junior might have it tattooed on his back. So if
Mhm.
that's your thing, straight up rip it, run with it, get the shirts printed up, get like whatever the Australian version of a Diaz brother is, you need to put that into action and start to make it happen.
Mhm.
It's that could be something. Even if nobody gets a title, the Diaz boys already showed you that could be something.
Mhm. I I agree, and that is a wrap on another great episode. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we enjoyed making it, as you can see. Thank you again. Mahalo. If you enjoyed yourself, like, subscribe, share with your friends and family. Um, Write us a 5-star review if you're listening to this somewhere else. And until next time, minasan arigato. I'll see you guys later. Have a good night.
Peace.